Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
The local forecasters tracking rain moving across Metro Detroit will have your complete weekend forecast. Nick.
More and more schools in our area and the state are using a new program that is scouring every single thing your students are doing online. You'd be surprised what they're looking at.
But first, she's been missing for months. Now, the mother of a missing 16-year-old makes a plea for her safe return. All coming up, we continue to follow breaking news from the Michigan Health Department as they are investigating 3 potential, and that's an important word at this point, potential cases of the coronavirus.
The cases come from 2 people from Washtenaw County and 1 from Macomb County. All 3 have recently traveled to Wuhan, China, heightening the concern. Samples have been sent to the CDC for testing, but it could be days before results are available. This news comes as a second American case was confirmed in Chicago this morning.
They were told their plan to keep the environment and the Detroit River safe and clean was inadequate. Revere Copper and Detroit Bulk Storage had a deadline of today to submit to the state an adequate remediation plan.
And this comes 8 weeks after the company's dock collapsed into the Detroit River, spilling contaminated soil filled with heavy metals and uranium into the river. So did the company meet today's deadline? Let's bring in Local 4 defender Karen Drew with that answer, Karen.
Oh, just under the gun, guys, but they did meet that deadline. Late today, Eagle received the remediation plan from the companies. They're right now, actually sifting through the plan to see if it is adequate to clean up this growing sinkhole and stop the erosion into the river. Meantime, the defenders have also learned the city of Detroit is planning on taking legal action against both of those companies after they have racked up more than 36 grand in blight bills after simply ignoring the city's demands to take action in cleaning up the mess they caused.
The violations keep piling up at Detroit Bulk Storage and Revere Dock, LLC.
This fine is for $200.
Remember, last week I reported the companies were being fined $3,000 a day until they got a permit or corrected the issues they caused, like this growing green sinkhole that has formed after the dock collapsed into the river, spilling contaminated soil into the water. As of today, $36,700 have been issued in blight tickets.
I see a guy in security. He's probably going to try to kick me off.
Our numerous attempts to get the companies to talk on camera have all been denied. The defenders learning the city law department is drafting a complaint against the landowner, Revere Dock, LLC, and the occupant, Detroit Bulk Storage, LLC. The city stating the suit seeks to redress the nuisance posed by the continued existence of the sinkhole and the seawall shore collapse, asking the defendants be required to show cause for their failure to meet the deadlines and requirements imposed by city authorities.
This whole situation has been very concerning.
Nick Assendelft is from Michigan's Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, or EGLE. We met right in front of the site collecting all those violations.
So we want to make sure that we have a valid plan in place that we can, allay public fears, obviously, about what's happening at this site.
Today is the deadline for Detroit Bulk Storage to give Eagle its remediation plan. Remember, the first one the company sent was deemed inadequate.
Well, we certainly are interested, obviously, in the soil contamination. We want to make sure that due care is followed by the companies to make sure that nothing is happening on the site that would jeopardize the health of the river.
So I think there's a lot of fear, frustration with how the process was handled.
Councilwoman Castaneda Lopez wants more answers.
But also it's just crazy to think about such a large chunk of it collapsing and the response just really being inadequate, even still to this day, and it happened almost a couple months ago now.
Inadequate to say the least. EPA will be at the site Monday conducting some really intensive and thorough tests, including groundwater testing. A health physicist is going to be there actually scanning the entire surface for radiation. They're also going to use ground penetrating radar. Results from those tests are due back in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And you had reported that as a result of this, the city was going to increase their inspections. Yeah. Have they done that?
You know what, guys? They did. Just got off the phone with them, and these numbers are really startling. The city is taking action action. I did that interview 2 weeks ago, and they said right now the city has conducted 152 inspections just along the riverfront. They've issued 192 violations to just 7 properties.
Well, that's the good news and bad news together.
Well, that
right?
shows that there's a big problem out there. They are giving those tickets, and that's $63,000 worth of fines. So
incredible.
We've got to figure out now, who are those companies? What were those fines? What were they doing?
Right,
and we'll be on it next week for everybody.
Right.
Day by day to day.
Yeah.
All right, Karen.
We appreciate it, Karen.
Well, let's turn things over to Andrew here, who's in for Ben tonight.
Yeah, just a gloomy kind of day all day today, headed into the weekend. Hi, Andrew.
That's right. We've got some liquid sunshine that is now falling, and we're looking at temperatures staying above freezing with wet conditions out there, adding to some of the snow and slush that might be out there, possibly making it extra slippery in some places. Here's some of the heavier rains. Got some downpours just south of Ann Arbor. That'll move a little bit farther to the north across Ann Arbor in the northern portions of Washtenaw County. You got a few of these here also in northern portions of Monroe County. That'll move into western Wayne County within the next 10 to 15 minutes as well. So heads up for places like Belleville, also around Ypsilanti. You'll see the rain pick up in its intensity within the next 10 to 15 minutes as that rotates through. Now on the colder side of the system, we're seeing scattered snowflakes, but we're going to stay on the warm side of the system as we go through this evening. Case in point, temperatures above freezing. That's what I mean by warm. All things being relative, we have 37 degrees. That's 5 degrees above freezing. It remains that way through this evening, so it'll be wet, not snowy, toward midnight. But what about afterward? That and your weekend forecast in minutes.
All right, Andrew. A Trenton mother is holding out hope that her missing daughter will somehow return home safely.
16-year-old Amaria Hall was last seen back on July 7th at her home on King Road. As Priya Mann reports, Crime Stoppers is increasing the reward to help find her.
While her family was asleep, Amaria Hall left her home in Trenton. She hasn't been seen since last summer, and now her mother fears the 16-year-old is a victim of human trafficking.
I would give my life. I would give my life. They could just take me if I would just switch.
April Hall hasn't taken their Christmas tree down yet, in the hopes her daughter will come home and see it.
She loved to see the lights, and it's somewhat of a hope, like Jesus Christ is a hope that she'll come home.
Amaria has been missing for more than 6 months. The teen suffers from depression and anxiety. Her mom says she's been on medications for blood and bone diseases since the 7th grade.
I don't know if she's eating. She's out there without her medications. You know, I don't want them to hurt her.
Her mom says Hall met a boy online. She fears her daughter may now be hooked on drugs and a victim of human trafficking.
Amaria doesn't deserve this. She's been sick all her life, and she's sick now. And please just drop her at a hospital, ER, just let her go.
Trenton police say they've received several hundred tips. The FBI has helped them follow up on leads in Florida, Georgia, and Minnesota. At this time, the teen is considered a missing person, but investigators have not ruled out human trafficking. A mother desperate for answers is hoping her daughter might be watching.
Just know that we're still looking for you and that my love is never going to stop and it's never going to end.
While police are actively investigating, they need your help. Crime Stoppers is now offering a $7,500 reward for information that leads to an arrest. Anyone with information urged to call Crime Stoppers or Trenton Police. I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
Okay, Priya, and April believes her daughter was groomed online for months before she disappeared. She's reminding parents to keep a close eye on how their kids use social media.
There is a program becoming more prominent in schools. It is tracking and monitoring every move students make on their computers. It is called Gaggle. The goal is to prevent bullying, violence, and even suicides. But as Nick Monticelli reports, some believe it goes too far.
Good evening. This started as a program that was just looking for keywords, but now when the students are in the cyberspace world, they can look at things, they can download things, they can send things, they can say things out of context. So there are people analyzing everything. Some are happy about it, some are not.
I think there was a case over Christmas that popped up late in the evening, and I called a parent directly.
Superintendent Dr. Amy Krupe says Hazel Park is one school district on a trial with Gaggle, a program scanning all electronic activity on school computers and accounts looking for signs of trouble.
If we save one child's life because maybe we caught them before they were going to commit suicide, then it's done its job.
The software works by looking for bullying, violence, or suicidal thoughts. When it flags a program, administrators are notified. Throughout the country, Gaggle is being used in nearly 1,400 districts, examining about 4 billion documents last year.
So now they can detect the tone of messages, a tone of despair that may not use the key words.
There is pushback, especially from the ACLU, saying this is invasive surveillance. Gaggle says they're looking at school computers and accounts, not personal ones.
We are only looking at the school-issued tools, and we feel very comfortable because there's policies in place that let children know that they have no expectation of privacy when communicating with these tools.
Gaggle says last year it prevented 722 suicides, but it comes at a cost, and many districts cannot afford it.
No, we certainly would like it, but I think the price is a conversation that this board will have to weigh the pros and the cons for.
Now, we did ask the Gaggle CEO about numbers specifically in the state of Michigan. He says that there are 31 schools in our state using them. 3 of them are in Metro Detroit. In Hazel Park, Nick Monticelli, Local 4.
Thank you, Nick. Now to a Local 4 News update. Repairs at Fire Station number 5 in Melvindale are taking longer than expected. We told you how the firefighters had to sleep in their trucks for a night after black mold was found in the firehouse. The Dearborn firefighters have been moved to the Melvindale Recreation Center as repairs and more testing are underway. It was hoped they would be back in the station by tonight, but it won't happen until at least next Monday.
A Ferndale woman was arrested after an extensive fraud investigation by Royal Oak Police. Sian Hatchett is facing several charges now, including identity theft. An elderly woman was at the Coventry Community Care Office in Royal Oak when she left her purse unattended in the exam room. After she left, she noticed she was missing some cash and then received a fraud alert from her debit card. An investigation discovered several larceny reports from the same location, and Hatchett was identified as a suspect and taken into custody.
Day 4 of the impeachment trial of President Trump kicked off on the Senate floor this afternoon. House Democrats used their final day of arguments to make the case that President Trump obstructed Congress. Democrats claim President Trump pressured Ukraine to investigate his political rivals while withholding military aid. They allege the president is still hiding the truth by blocking witnesses from testifying. Lester Holt and the NBC Nightly News team will have a full recap of today's proceedings and a look ahead at what's next, coming up after this broadcast at 6:30. Imagine calling your bank with an issue, thinking the problem is resolved, and then a much more serious problem occurs down the line.
That is what federal investigators believe happened to some customers at a Flagstar in Troy. Still ahead, how some of those customers were defrauded hundreds of dollars. Jamie?
Whose high school diploma is this? Whose wedding photo is this? These are the questions a local framing gallery owner is asking.
I'd like to reunite these photos with their families and make sure that they go back home to where they belong.
Her years-long mission to try and find the rightful owners of these photos and how you can help, next on Local 4.
The threats are real, and they affect everyone. That's why Local 4 is committed to defending the environment. Local 4 and Click on Detroit, getting results.